Hi folks, this is Abel James, and thanks so much for listening to Fat Burning Man, where we talk about real food and real results. Today is a real special episode of the show. It's actually my 30th birthday today, and we're here with Pedram Shojai, Mike Yang, and a few other friends, Allison, of course. We pulled up the trailer that we moved everything into to a place that's just outside of Sequoia National Park. We're going to spend the day hiking outside. It's just a beautiful, beautiful day here in California. And coming up next week, we're going to Fat Burning Man goes to Burning Man in the Fat Burning Van, which should be awesome. But it's been a pretty wild few weeks out here in California. I broke my foot, don't worry, just like a hairline fracture, and was healed by a kung fu master slash shaman named Carl, who Pedram introduced me to, who's just a wonderful man. And I'm going to have a lot of really cool guests coming up on the show. Perhaps Carl will even come on as well. Now, today's show is with Dr. Trevor Cates, another good friend, and she is all about aging well. She's someone who, I'm not going to say her age right now, I think we do say it on the show itself, but she looks easily 10, 20 years younger than she actually is. She's known as the spa doctor, and a lot of celebrities and people in the know go to her for advice on how to age well, how to make sure that they're not only living a long time, but have a lot of life in their years. So I hope you guys enjoy this show. Before we get to it, I just wanted to reflect on something. You know, it is my 30th birthday, and so there's a lot of time to kind of reconnect with where you came from and look forward to where you're going. And I just want to say to you, anyone who is listening to this or watching this right now, I would not be here without you. So thank you so much for all of this. If you haven't been listening to this show from the beginning, it's been coming up on 3 years now, and I started this show to get the truth out about health because I felt that I had been kind of swindled by commercials and magazines and conventional wisdom and even the Western establishment of medicine into being fat and sick in my early 20s. And a lot of us, unfortunately, are settling for that. When I found that real food and kind of reconnecting with your roots was the answer that worked for me, I tried my best to start a show that would, in that spirit, bring that philosophy to the world of movement and what we eat every single day too. And so I started up, the tongue-in-cheek name Fat Burning Man, and now we're going to Burning Man, and there are so many plays on words. If you meet me in person, be sure to pick my brain about like what Fat Burning Man actually means. But there are a lot of things that are coming full circle right now, and I just want to take a moment to say that I really would not be here at this wonderful place, Sequoia, in California right now. I wouldn't have these friends, Pedram, Mike Yang, Dave Asprey, a lot of other people who I've been spending a lot of time with in these past few weeks. None of this would have been possible without this show, without you folks kind of encouraging me to keep doing it, keep getting the truth out there, and it's turned into a wonderful thing. Another pretty cool thing, last night I finally sent in the draft manuscript for my new book, The Wild Diet, to Penguin Random House, and we're going to be publishing that this spring. That wouldn't have been possible without you guys either, so thank you so much. I think you're really going to like it. Not only does it have a lot of the stories from Allison and I traveling all over the world and experiencing food and the way that people live there, but it also, what I designed it to be is if you buy one book or give one book away to friends or family members, I want to make sure that you have everything that you need to not only eat well, but move well and live well. And so in one book, it was hard to squish that all into 70,000 words, especially with 40 feasts, which it also has in it. But I think we did a pretty good job. So look forward to that. I'm going to be sneaking out a few little things to you in the next few weeks and months ahead. So stay tuned for that. One more time, thank you so much for all of your support for Fat Burning Man and all of my other escapades and endeavors over the past few years. None of this would have been possible without you. That said, if you'd like to help other people get to this free show, then please leave a review on iTunes, on YouTube, or leave a comment on my blog at fatburningman.com. Sign up for my newsletter at fatburningman.com as well, and I'll be sending loads of cool videos and recipes. Allison's making me another new cheesecake recipe today for my birthday, so we're gonna be putting that up soon too, so check it out. It's fatburningman.com. All right, so let's talk about this show for a quick second with Dr. Cates. Once again, she's a good friend of mine. She's a very well-established doctor, but even more than that, she's a shining example of health, someone who has aged very, very well. And I think she has a lot to share with you guys. So I hope that you enjoy it. and I'll be chatting with you soon. Let's go hang out with Trevor. All right, folks, we're here with Dr. Trevor Cates, and she's also known as the Spa Doctor, and she's the first woman licensed as a naturopathic doctor in California. I think that's pretty cool. She's here to talk about anti-aging, among many other things. How's it going, Trevor?
Great. It's great to be here on your podcast.
Yes, and you have one of your own now too, and I think a lot of people really resonate with the fact that you're someone who is not, having met you personally, 20 years old, but you do look like you're 20 years old. And I think you're a walking billboard for what you do. And I think that's so cool. So tell folks a little bit about anti-aging, because there are kind of like a few different I guess armies, you could say, on different sides of this. One is that it's all about synthetics and, like injecting toxins and slicing yourself up. Then there's the other side that's we should be doing the things that we've been doing for thousands of years. And some things have been lifestyle factors have proven over and over to accelerate aging, and others have been great at preventing it. So we're going to talk about the most kick butt things that people can do right now to make sure that they're not getting too old too quickly. Where should we start?
Well, I think, some people have a hard time with the term anti-aging because we can't stop. And, I agree. We can't stop the aging process.
Sure.
We're all getting older, but none of us want to look older than we are. And I have patients in their 20s, 30s and older that they all think that they're getting older and they want to know, what can I do to keep looking young and feeling great? And so, I was thinking we could talk about some of the signs of premature aging people kind of want to look out for that, none of us really want. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So
how to prevent those?
What does aging look like then?
Yeah. So when people start to get older, we think about being tired, our memory not being as sharp and focused. It's harder to stay in shape. We lose muscle, gain fat. So the muscle wasting is called sarcopenia.
Mm-hmm.
And so we tend to gain more fat, body aches and pains, joint, muscles, all of that. Also, skin changes are one of the most visible signs of aging, with wrinkles, fine lines, discolorations of the skin. And then also chronic diseases. So things like diabetes and osteoporosis and heart disease. We don't want to get those things, right? Mm-hmm. So, we're all getting older, right? But we want to age gracefully. We're living longer than we ever have as a society. And so we want to do things that feel great, look great as we get older.
Yeah, totally. And it's interesting because Allison just turned 30. I'm about to turn 30, and meeting up with old friends, from 15 years ago in high school or whatever, or from 10 plus years ago in college, or even before that. It was interesting because when you're in your 20s, like I felt older then than I do now, but it was amazing going to reunions. You can see the way that people are living their lives on their faces, in their bodies. And once you start hitting, your 30s, your 40s, 50s, 60s, you start to kind of like wear the face that you deserve at that point, right? Which isn't always a pretty picture. So how do lifestyle factors contribute to how quickly you age?
Well, of course, lifestyle factors are huge. One of the biggest things that people talk about is sun exposure. We want to be careful to not fry our skin like people did. We did in the 80s. We used to think, let's go out and get really tan, but
right.
We know that's
wearing neon jumpsuits and yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. And while some sun exposure is great, we want to go outdoors and we want to have fun because it boosts our mood and does all kinds of great things for us. Just want to be smart about it and protect our skin, wear hats and cover-ups and try to stay out of the peak hours of the sun, and wear some good sunblocks and things like that. So those are simple things. Also, environmental things. A lot of times people think of cigarette smoking. Of course, that ages us very quickly, especially you'll see people with the wrinkles and around their mouth and their eyes from that leathery skin from smoking. It's just not a good thing we want to do. But really, any environment, smoking is it's an environmental toxin. And so any kind of pollution, environmental toxins, any toxins in our environment, in our air, in our water, our food, our personal care products, any of those kinds of things can also speed up that aging process.
Yeah, and it gets pretty gnarly sometimes. We don't At least a lot of people don't tend to think about air quality that much as they go about their daily business. But I know every time I go to New York, I'm like, whew, it's not, I don't want to go for a run. You know, it's like, I'm not sure how much the science enters into it, but there's that aphorism where it's just like going for a run in Central Park is like smoking a pack of cigarettes. And there's an element of truth there when it's interesting during certain weather systems, even living here in Austin with the amount of traffic and moving that's been going on. I live right on, it's kind of like a recess down a little hillside. And so it scoops up. And for whatever reason, that's where a lot of the bad air collects from the highways. And so on certain days, you just open up, you know, it's a beautiful wilderness behind our house here. And like I looked at wild fox in the eyes the other night. It's cool, but sometimes it smells like a tailpipe. And it's when you're breathing that stuff in, it really is contributing directly to all sorts of negative health effects. Like that's what, as some of our friends like to say, that's what cancer smells like.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's no joke. So what can you do to make sure that you're like, what's an actionable rubber meets the road thing you can do to limit the environmental toxins that you're at least breathing in?
Yeah, absolutely. And I live in Park City, Utah. We're up in the mountains and we have really clean air. It's beautiful up here and I love it. But just less than 30 minutes away is Salt Lake City, some of the worst air quality in the country. Mm-hmm. And so I have a lot of patients down there that come up and say, what can I do? So, you know, other than move, which, you know, isn't always.
Which actually is an option that a lot of people don't think about that often. Like you don't have to live in a tailpipe.
Yeah. But other than that, there are certain things that we don't have control over in our environment, but there are a lot of things that we do have control over. So focus on the things that you really do have control over, like the foods that you eat. And are they pesticide free? Are they organic? Are you eating foods that are high in antioxidants, you know, colorful fruits and vegetables that reverse that oxidative free radical damage that can occur from exposure to toxins? All of that can be really important. So, I mean, that's one of the biggest things is the food that we eat. We have control over that. So it's a great place to start. And also the air quality in your home. What do you choose to bring in your home? What kind of chemical, like pesticides or cleaning products? Those kinds of things are in your home. Be smart about that, because whatever you're spraying around or have in your house that's going to off gas, and you're going to be breathing that in. Yeah. And oftentimes indoor air quality can be much more toxic than outdoor air, even in a busy city like Salt Lake City.
Right.
So, you know, we want to be careful about our indoor air, especially in the wintertime or times when our houses are closed up and we don't have fresh air from the outdoors. So those are a couple of things that people can do. Think about those things. And then personal care products. What are you people using on their skin? You know, shampoos, conditioners, hair products, aftershave, perfumes, all makeups, all those kinds of things are full of chemicals. So getting educated on those and being smart about what you put on your skin and on your body, because what we put on our skin does absorb through our skin and gets into our bloodstream and can create all kinds of problems.
Yeah. A great rule that it's hard to stick to 100% of the time, but if you wouldn't eat it, don't put it on your skin. And like a lot of people hear that and you're like, yeah, whatever. But I can tell you that most of the people who look like Dr. Cates do, really swear by this. It's something that, I mean, if you deconstruct what we're talking about here, we're not talking about one magical bullet thing, right? It's actually quite simple. We've known this for a while. It's like, if you want to live well into a ripe old age, but maintain your vitality, then we're talking about breathe pure air, right? Eat pure food without all these toxins, avoid breathing in poisons, avoid putting poisons on your skin. It doesn't sound like any like groundbreaking stuff. What's the breakdown? Why aren't people actually doing this stuff? Because like obviously, if we're going to answer that question, what is the best way to prevent aging? It's by not doing the stupid stuff like putting toxins on your skin and breathing them into your lungs and all this other stuff. Where's the breakdown?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why I created a 21-day healthy habits challenge that I have on my website. And that is it, because that's a big thing that I see over and over again with my patients is I know what I'm supposed to do, or I think I know what I'm supposed to do, and I know what you're trying to tell me to do,
Yeah.
but how do I break those bad habits? How do I really incorporate a healthier lifestyle? And that is a huge question. And that's why, because I found that there are the 21 really essential habits. And if just simple 10 minutes a day can make a huge impact in people's lives. And it's really about, part of it's education. If we understand why it's important, that can be a part of the shift. And then also just making it easy. Just making it, simplifying it, starting with the basics and not getting overwhelmed. Because I think when people hear about environmental toxins or, foods that are bad for them, they just get overwhelmed and they just shut down.
Right.
So it's just start with something simple, whatever it is, and like with the environmental toxins, maybe it's just a matter of trying to buy more organic produce. And it could be as simple as that. Or, replacing the air filters in your home once a month. Something simple, just start somewhere. And then once people, what I notice in my practice is that once people start to make those changes, they feel different. They feel better. I mean, Abel, you know this. I mean, you went through huge transformation in your life, and it's so rewarding when you can have the energy that you want to have. You have the body that you feel fit, and you can do all the sports and fun activities. Even when you're in your 70s, you can do these things if you make these simple changes.
Yeah. So one of the things I did when I was putting my my original thoughts together about nutrition and exercise and lifestyle and how to optimize that a few years ago is I looked at the people who should not be in the shape that they're in. And so old people are a great person to look to. Like, how has this person been living? If they're 80 years old and they're either, basically in a care facility, like so many of us are, unfortunately, these days, increasingly so, younger and younger, or for longer and longer periods of time, but not necessarily vital and really living your life, as opposed to the people who are still ripped and, like throwing around kettlebells when they're 90 years old and walking for 50 miles at a time and doing all this amazing stuff that humans actually have been doing when they did live into old age. Like we've kind of thought of aging as something that happens younger and younger and younger in America, in our culture. And I think that's starting to expand, right? We see that, when I went to my 5-year reunion after college, after Dartmouth, some of these guys looked like they were easily in their middle age, balding with big guts, mostly the Wall Street guys, and, the people who were pushing it a little bit too much. So what separates someone who at 80 years old is either throwing around kettlebells or in a care home? What can people kind of do right now to make sure that they're following the right trajectory?
Right. Well, a lot of aging is genetics. So, for some of us, that's great news. And for some of us, it's really bad news.
Yeah.
So, but it's not just about genetics. We know now that with genetic expression that we can actually change the genetic expression by our lifestyle choices, by how we choose to live. So, part of it, like I'm saying, it's just part of it's genetics. But again, there's certain things that we can do. Now, what separates those people? I think a lot of it's motivation and what drives you to do the things that you want in life. And people that are depressed or have low self-esteem, self-image issues aren't going to take as good a care of themselves. So this is part of why I went back to school after naturopathic medical school and being in practice for a while. I went back to school. I got a master's degree in spiritual psychology because I was so interested in the psychology behind why people are resistant to change, why some people can really embrace that healthy lifestyle while others will not. And a lot of it revolves around emotional issues. And so if people can look, I mean, that's what I found in my practice is that one of those big differentiating factors is what kind of emotional barriers do you have? Mm-hmm. So sometimes people, if I suggested a healthier diet change, they would say, well, but I can't because I've got these foods that I crave. They're my comfort foods. I just can't give those up. So why do you have those comfort foods? Like, what is the connection there? And what's the worst thing that can happen if you didn't have those foods? So,
Right.
a lot of it's working through those emotional issues, and maybe there's, and I know I'm not one to really dwell on childhood traumas and past bad experiences. While those can be important to just work through, you don't want to dwell there. You want to move forward with your life and say, okay, well, I know my life's been tough. We all have had tough times, but how can I really make the most out of life and charge ahead and be the most I can be?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think those are some of the biggest differentiating factors that I think.
There's a great book that the title's escaping me right now, that basically covers the effect of small changes over a very long period of time. And so if you change, if you do one thing differently tomorrow, they say that 95% of what we do is basically habitual. We kind of do it every day, or at least every week. If you change 5 minutes at a time, if you put one little thing in there, say it's meditation. I did this like a few years ago, changed my life. If you make those tiny little changes, but you do them over the course of 10, 15, 40 years, some of those little things can really start to add up, and you see it on people's faces all the time. But there are trade-offs too, and some things that I think, you being the spa doctor might be a perfect person to talk to about this. There's kind of there are two worlds within beauty, right? One is anti-aging, and that's kind of like an end goal to some degree. And then there's like beauty of the moment, which would be basically losing as much weight as you think you have to in a short period of time, or kind of just like squeezing into a dress or a suit or whatever. Or maybe if you're, an athlete or a bodybuilder, you're getting ready for competition, you're dieting yourself down, you're putting on all sorts of muscle. What does the trade-off look like, for example, between someone who wants to carry around loads of muscle short term, or be exceptionally like model type skinny short term? How do those things affect long-term health and aging?
Yeah, that's a great point, because with a healthy lifestyle, it's not like we can do it in spurts. It's not going to, it may provide some benefit to eat healthy for a short period of time, but really the biggest impact is going to be your lifelong habits. And certainly it actually can have the opposite effect. If you load up on a ton of supplements and you're getting too much of something, or you overdo it on exercise, or completely restrict your calories to the point where you're starving yourself, you're going to do more damage. You're going to age more quickly in some cases, because you're not getting the right kind of balance. You're not getting the balanced nutrition, balanced exercise, and it's gonna add up eventually, create a problem.
So what are the symptoms of doing it right then?
Symptoms of doing it right. Well, part of it is the great thing is that we have our bodies give us feedback. Mm-hmm. And so if we have symptoms, it's a sign that something's not right. And mm-hmm. I see all the time people coming in and saying to me, well, I went to my regular doctor, and because I know there's something wrong with me, but they did an exam and they did blood work and they said I'm fine. But I know something's not right because I'm tired, I have headaches, I can't sleep, I can't lose this extra weight. Mm-hmm. They're not they're not having optimal health. But yet most conventional medicine is about just preventing people from dying prematurely, right, having horrific chronic disease. Whereas what we really want is we want to live every day symptom-free, disease-free, and feel great, look great, and be ready to charge.
All right, so let's talk about your day, if you don't mind. What are the things that you're doing that other people might not know about or might not be doing every day? Maybe they do know about it, but they're not actually doing it. And then the question would be like, how did you install that in your life? But what are the things you're doing every day that are really, according to everything that you know, contributing in a positive way to make sure that you stay young and vital as long as you possibly can?
Okay. Well, I can't say I'm perfect. I do indulge every now and then, and
you don't say.
I like dessert every now and then. I love chocolate, but I'll give you some. So I'm going to say that first because I'm not perfect.
Sure.
And I think that's okay. We can all. I think we want to enjoy life. We don't want to get obsessed with being toxin free and obsessed with healthy eating, because then we're just going to be stressed about that. And that's going to throw our hormones out of balance.
Yeah.
So, but okay. So some of the things I do, I would say that I think really benefit me and help me feel great is I start off every morning with a healthy smoothie, and I put lots of greens in there, a little bit of fruit, and some coconut milk, and a really high quality protein powder it's got some nice cleansing, so liver cleansing support in there, and I just do that every morning. I love it. Maybe other people don't think it tastes great, but to me, I'm filling out my body with something really great, and I feel fantastic. Whereas if I started my day with a pastry, I would be asleep in an hour.
Right.
I wouldn't be able to do. So for me, I was like, that's the reward, because I can get so much more done in a day.
Mm-hmm.
When I start off like that. I also make a point of exercising every day. And like I said, I live in Park City, so beautiful weather here. In the wintertime, I'm skiing, and in the summer, I'm mountain biking, I'm wake surfing behind a boat, or hiking, trail running, any of those things, getting outdoors.
Yeah.
So I do that every day. And if for some reason my schedule is super busy and I don't get an exercise, I feel a difference.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't have the same amount of energy. I oftentimes don't sleep as well. Maybe sometimes I'm even more irritable. So just those things. I'm explaining how I feel, because this is part of why I do it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, my work, I love what I do. And I had a patient one time that came in to see me, and she had terrible insomnia. Mm-hmm. As a naturopathic physician, I'm always trying to find the underlying cause of a person's health problem. And that's so important, because when we find the underlying cause, and address that, rather than just to suppress a symptom like, okay, can't sleep, so take the sleep aid. What I want to do is, why was she not sleeping? So just like any other underlying cause, I tried, did some research on her, like asking her, what's going on with you? And all I could figure out from what she told me, the only thing that I could see was an obstacle for her. She didn't have hormone imbalances. She's doing all the right things for sleep ritual at night and all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing is she hated her job. She hated her job, and she was miserable. And at the end of the appointment, I said, I wish I had something more to tell you, because you're probably going to be disappointed in what I'm going to have to say to you. But I think you need a new job, or you need to find something else to do, because it's making you miserable. And she didn't come back. And I thought, I'm like, well, that is what it is. But I ran into her. Park City's a small town. I ran into her at a Christmas party, and she came up to me and she goes, "Oh my God, Dr. Cates, I've been meaning to call you and tell you my life transformed. I am sleeping so well now. And the only thing I did differently is I quit my job and I got a new one."
Wow.
Yeah.
The best fat loss advice ever. That's great.
So that's why I mentioned I love what I do. I mean, I love being a naturopathic physician. I love helping people. I love, doing the podcast and writing blogs and educating people on how to take better care of themselves. So, and those are some of the big things I do. I have fun. I enjoy time. I have 3 kids, and we do fun things together. So, and I make sure that I eat healthy meals throughout the day, healthy snacks, and try to be careful about those exposures that I talked about.
Yeah.
Personal care products, thinking about those, and living in a clean environment.
So let's talk about the Rugrats a little bit. How are you making sure that, you just have to dodge poison and toxins and sugars and all sorts of other junk all over the place as a parent to make sure that that's not kind of like coming into their world. How do you manage knowing everything that you know about how to be healthy and the realities of the worlds that your kids are growing up in?
Yeah, it's really important, and a lot of it is just consistency and education. Because my kids are a little bit older now, so I can talk to them about why sugar is not, we don't want to do a lot of sugar, and why we don't want to have sodas and those sorts of things, as they understand it. But still, I think so much of it is being consistent and being a role model. I grew up, when I was a kid, I grew up on a organic farm, and my parents were always such a great role model. And my dad would every evening he would chop up carrots and apples and different other fruits and veggies and just have them sitting out for us. So those were our snacks that we always had, or we always had these healthy meals. And so, they set that example for me, and so I certainly try and do that for my kids too. And being consistent, because if I say, oh, well, today we can eat fast food, it's like, well, why can't we have it every day? So I've never taken my kids to a fast food restaurant. They've never sat, I mean, not with me anyway, maybe on a play date or something. Got some chicken nuggets or something, but not with me. Yeah.
So I'm curious, we haven't talked about this personally. Where do you stand on grains?
Grains? Well, I'd really try and stick to gluten-free as much as possible. Mm-hmm. And one of my kids is very sensitive to gluten, and she had a lot of health problems as a baby, and so we've always just had her on a gluten-free diet, and she's really great about it. I mean, she's 7 years old now. I can't remember how long it's been, but as long as she's been going to birthday parties, and whenever she goes to a birthday party or she's at school or something, she knows she has her little gluten-free dessert or whatever it is, like her special little treat that when the other kids have birthday cake, she's going to have that. And she's just always great about it.
So what are those treats? I'm curious. What's a nice little gluten-free treat for kids?
Well, they're great health food stores around here. So we just go there and find a little gluten-free little chocolate cake or something.
Sure.
It's not perfect, but at least she can stick with her gluten-free diet. Or, sometimes she's good with just having fruit or, some sort of bar, a fruit nut. I'm like, she's good about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, with kids, it's it can be really challenging, and I have seen a lot of kids in my practice, and people are always asking me for tips on that. And I think, like I said, setting a good example and being consistent, and little tricks like if you can start a garden and kids get involved with that sort of thing, they want to eat those foods. If they've started to grow them, they'll want to eat them. If they go with you to the store and help pick out and help plan and prepare meals, then they like that. They like to be feel ups.
So what are some of your kids' favorite foods?
My kids' favorite foods. My kids will eat just about anything, and it's really funny. Like, that's awesome. For my son's birthday, I said, "Where do you want to go for dinner? We can go anywhere." Because I know he's not gonna, say anything I don't want him to say. I mean, just because I know.
It's a little bit of a leading question, yeah.
All right. So he said, "Well, I don't know if I can't decide between Indian food or sushi."
How old is he?
He's 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Pretty eclectic.
Yeah. So they like a variety of foods. They like Thai and Indian and Japanese. So we and they what are some of their other favorite foods? They like my smoothies too. They love to make smoothies.
They do. Yeah. So I was just talking to someone about this. How do you get kids hooked on getting their greens in, especially through a smoothie? Is there a trick?
Adding fruit. If you're talking about greens, you said?
Yeah. So like, not just because it's one thing to get kids to drink a milkshake, right? Like that's not too difficult to do, but getting kids to drink vegetables or things that are actually good for them. Sometimes, parents feel guilty about it, or they're just like, is this, the right thing? Should I put this in there? Or can I put a banana in? Can I have some honey? Like, what are you doing? Like, to get the kid, instead of that horrible image of what a lot of people are probably predicting when they try to give their kids something healthy, that they spit it out and they hate it and they never want to eat it again. How do you make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, the first thing is if you can start early, the earlier you start with kids, the more they get used to it. Mm-hmm. If they get used to smoothies being green or brown, then that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But if you start introducing green smoothies to a kid that's a little bit older, it does get more challenging. But if you add in, usually if you just add in some frozen berries, some frozen fruit, makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
If they're freaking out about the color, put it in a sippy cup or a cup with a lid that they can't see the color of it. They can't see it, and they'll just taste it. And then once they get past the taste of it, they realize it actually tastes good. Then they're not so freaked out about the look of it, the color of it. And it's same for adults too. Some adults are like, oh, it's brown, it's green, I can't drink that.
Yeah.
But once they taste it, it's good. And I think for kids, a little bit of honey, like you said, that's fine. If that's necessary. I don't really find that it's necessary to add that if you're putting in some fruit. And people have to be smart about smoothies. If you make a smoothie with orange juice and bananas and frozen fruit, you're just going to load them up with natural sugars, but it's still going to send them, flying around the house with a sugar buzz. So you want to, orange juice is generally not what I recommend in smoothies just because it adds so much sugar content. So starting off with like I said, coconut milk or almond milk unsweetened. And sometimes even you just use water if you've got a lot of other great things to put in there. Just watch the sugar content too, because you don't want to, you're trying to do a good thing and then load them up with a bunch of sugar. That's not going to help. Totally.
Yeah. So we're just about out of time. But before we go, why don't we talk about where people can find you and what you're working on now?
Okay, great. So I'm really excited about my podcast. It's called The Spa Doctor. And I'm talking about, the Spa Doctor, secrets to smart, sexy, and strong. So my message in this is that, you don't have to be a rocket scientist, a porn star, or an Olympic athlete to be smart, sexy, and strong. And so I want to help every single person, wherever they are in life and whoever they are, at whatever age, to be these things so you can really live that vibrant, healthy life. And I'm going to have some amazing guests on for interviews like you do. Some of our friends that are some of the great top leading health experts.
Awesome.
As well as some celebrities and some excellent role models. We talked about those people that age so gracefully, that are, in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and are like, oh my God, how do you do this? So I'm going to be interviewing some of those people and finding what, like you were saying, what's going to, how do they do it? What makes them different?
Right.
So that's all. I'm really excited about that. And so people can go to my website, drtrevorcates.com, and sign up, and we'll send out emails letting everybody know about when those are all coming up. And then I also I mentioned earlier, my 21-day Healthy Habits Challenge. And it's such a great tool for people to go, and the first 3 are free. People just go and you sign up and you get the first 3 days, and you get a video each day with a short little video explaining your challenge for the day. And they're not just nutrition things. It's everything from, what's lurking in your pantry, what kind of hidden toxins might be in your food, to sleep tips, to a quick little fun workout, all kinds of things to help people transform those habits and feel great. So that people can go to my website too for that. And yeah, that's what's going on with me.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come on, Dr. Cates. And I can't wait to hear all the new things that you're going to get into with your podcast. I haven't really heard anyone nail it yet, that subject of basically aging gracefully. And I think you're the person to do it. So thank you so much for coming on. I'm sure that people will be chiming in the comment section and asking some questions on the blog. You can always do that at fatburningman.com, and we'll be linking to you there as well. Dr. Trevor Cates, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Abel.